with everyone else.
Thank you. That was great. I'm in the mood now. I have an affirmation for you guys. So, if you would repeat after me, I allow others to be who they are. Let's have some gusto here. I allow myself to be who I am. I allow spirit to do what it does. And it is good. Very good. So when I ask Spirit, which I always do, when I know that I'm going to speak, I ask Spirit, what do you want me to say? And this is what Spirit said to me. This is the last Sunday of July, where we've been talking about relationships, and Spirit said, they're complicated. And I thought, well, wait a minute, that's kind of weird, because Spirit is not complicated at all. But we humans, we're pretty complicated, right? So my husband has this big dog t-shirt, and on the t-shirt it says, my wife says I don't listen to her, or something like that. And people come, they go across a football field to go and say, I love that shirt. That shirt makes me laugh. It's so funny. And I thought, you know, I think they like it because it rings true for them, right? Right? And so why is that? I think that for a lot of couples, communication is complicated. Would you not agree? So this past month in ministerial class, we've been studying science and religion. And one of our textbooks is Biocentrism by Robert Lanza. Now, this book made my brain want to pack its bags and shoot right out of my ear, and I'm not kidding you about that. But through patience, guidance from my teachers, and group discussion, I was able to grasp the main idea of biocentrism, which is reality is not something out there that we are minuscule parts of, but rather reality is dependent on an observer, us. Without an observer, reality exists only as potential. What? What? Well, here's what I mean. You know the old question, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? We've all heard that. Well, biocentrism says if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one around, not only is there no sound, but there's no tree and there's no forest. Now, why am I bringing this up? Not to make your brains want to pack their bags, okay? I'm bringing this up because one day after class, I sat down next to my husband, Larry, and I told him what we were learning, especially the story of the tree falling in the forest. The look on his face can only be described as the way people look at you in the South and say, bless your heart. Right? This is polite for you are a nut. Now, he did tell me he didn't agree with what I was telling him, but the next day, when I told him that I was going to stop by the grocery store, he said, how do you know it's there? And I said, I don't. I guess I'll find out when I get there. This has now become a little family joke with us. And so I'm sure that Larry thinks I'm nutty about a lot of things that I believe, but he takes it lightly and he puts his love for me ahead of his opinions about what I think. This is what David Rico describes as allowing. Allowing is the fifth A in the book, How to Be an Adult in Relationships. I got to learn about allowing when I shared my life and my home with over 100 foster teenagers. As any of you guys know who have raised children, there are a lot of things that you can't allow kids to do because those are the things that could hurt themselves or others. So no is often the only option. But here's something I learned from those teenagers. Sometimes allowing something that you don't really agree with can honor your relationship. David Rico mentions this in his book. He says some parents set rigid structures on eating, sleeping, clothing, and grooming, all to suit their own needs or standards, rationalizing that such structures are crucial to a child's health. In such a home, it may have felt unsafe to be ourselves. Can anyone relate to that? Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah. So we had a 12-year-old boy. His name was Josh. And one of the things that I would always do with a new kid is take him to the grocery store and find out what favorite foods they have. And I would love to get those foods for them. Well, Josh's favorite food was Vienna sausages. Now, this is probably the fourth time I've spoken about Vienna sausages from this pulpit here. But Spirit loves this story, and it keeps putting it in front of me. So Vienna sausages are these scary little meat things inside a can with a lid that pops open. You guys know what they are, right? And so when he said that was his favorite food, I just kind of, I got the shivers, right? But of course, we bought those sausages. And when he took them home and he popped that lid open and he sniffed the contents, his little eyes just rolled up in his head. He did like that little dog in the cartoon, you know, that just, he just floated up to the ceiling and then he floated back down. And I knew that that simple little can of sausages was honoring our relationship and creating a bond between us. We had another girl, a teenage girl, who asked if we would take away the bed frame under her bed because she didn't want space between the mattress, box springs, and the floor. It was scary to her. And so, of course, we took away the bed frame. You know, we had kids who wouldn't even sleep in their beds. It was too weird for them. It wasn't comfortable. They would sleep on the floor. And when I found that they were sleeping on the floor, instead of saying, don't be ridiculous, get in your bed, I would say, let's get some more comforters and pillows. Let's make a nest. Let's make it nice for you. That's allowing. Now, when our parents get older, sometimes we assume the role of parenting them. The idea of allowing comes into play in these relationships too. When my own mother started to experience some cognitive decline, I found myself feeling very impatient with her. And when she would say, "You never come and see me," even though I was just there, I would say, "That's not true. I was just with you yesterday." I didn't even realize that I was making her wrong and pointing out her memory decline. And I feel really sad about that. But now I work part-time for a caregiving company, and the owner has shared many stories with me of adult children, of elderly parents, treating them as if they were children, trying to control their eating, grooming, clothing, etc. The same things that David Rico talked about regarding little children. But the guy I work with has a very personal experience that he shares with his clients because his own mother has dementia. And so one day, not too long ago, he went to visit her. She lives in a place for people with memory decline, and he went to visit her, and when he walked in, she looked at him curiously, like she wasn't sure who he was. And so he said, "Mom, it's me, it's David." And she looked at him and she said, "No, my brother is David. You must be my brother." And what David did was he just sat down and he said, "How are you doing today? How's your day going?" He just went right to the present moment. There was no point in saying, no, I'm your son, whatever. He just honored her and honored the relationship. That's a learning for me, and I think that that is probably a good thing for everyone to remember. Now, if you talk to couples who've been together for 25 or more years and you ask them the secret to the success of their relationship, here's what most of them say. Be friends with your partner. Do things that you both enjoy together. Take time for date night. And here's the big one. Don't ever go to bed mad. Well, I have something to say about that. So when Larry and I were preparing to get married, we went and met with the minister, my minister at the time, Reverend Joanne, over at the little church in Templeton. And Reverend Joanne sat us down and she said, is there anything that either one of you, is there anything about the other one that maybe it's a problem for you or you just have questions about? And I was all ready for this. So I said, well, yes, I have something. So whenever we have an argument, Larry gets in his truck and he drives away. And I'm standing in the driveway watching his truck drive away or looking out the window, wondering if he's ever going to come back. And I really thought that she was going to give it to him. I really did. I was like, I'm ready. I am ready for her to just bonk him right over the head. But here's what happened. She looked at me and she said, do you realize how much dignity he is bringing to your relationship by walking away when he's mad? And I said, what? And she said, by not saying the hurtful things that were probably going through his head, he's bringing dignity to your relationship. And I thought, what? And then she said, does he come back? And I said, well, yeah, he's right here. We're getting married. So she said, so what's the problem, right? So my advice is that if you are not able to talk things out calmly by bedtime, go to bed. Okay? Because tomorrow is another day, and we all know that things look better in the light of day, right? Relationships are complicated, and one way to make them better is to allow. Allow the other person to be and think what they want. Allow dignity in your relationship by taking a time out if you need one. If you are feeling like saying hurtful things, take that time out and allow time to be together doing something that you both enjoy. Now, I'm not saying that you need to allow people in your life to do whatever they want. You have to use discernment and you have to have boundaries for yourself. One thing that I learned early on in my foster parent career is that if you frame your requests to another by saying I rather than you, you're more likely to get what you want. For example, the same teenage girl who wanted that bed frame removed came into our lives because she was being kicked out of a group home. Now, usually kids go to a group home because they've been kicked out of their home. So this was kind of a big deal. But when we presented our house rules in the form of this is what we need, she was totally on board. When we said curfew is at 10 o'clock because we need our sleep, she said, makes perfect sense to me. Now, can you imagine what she would have said if I said curfew's at 10 o'clock because you need your sleep? Teenagers don't accept that kind of thing. When I agreed to accept the position of your office administrator, it became my third part-time job. So much for retirement. But I am thrilled to be doing all of those jobs. Now, my husband is truly retired. He is living his best life, doing the things he loves to do on his own time schedule. And I'll be honest, as I was heading out the door to work and looked over at him laughing at cat videos, I was a little miffed, just a little miffed. But I had to ask myself, are you miffed because he's not working as hard as you, or he's not being productive in your eyes? What is really going on here? And once I looked deeply into my motives, I realized that what I really needed was help doing some chores around the house. And so I sat down with him and told him that. And I asked him if he would be willing to help, especially help keeping the floors vacuumed. And of course he said yes. Now, when you ask someone for help, be ready for them to help you in creative ways. So soon after that conversation, I arrived home to hear this like whirring sound, like whooshing, whooshing sound. And lo and behold, there was a small robot that was scurrying around our house, vacuuming the floors. You know, when you ask for help, allow the other person to be creative in how they solve your problem. So all of this is great advice for relationships with others, but what about our relationship with ourselves? My, oh my, that is complicated. How many of you feel that the most critical person in your life is you? Lots of heads shaking, right? How often do we second guess ourselves, blame ourselves, mistrust our own motives? I know that I do that, and I know that I'm not alone. We need to apply the idea of allowing to ourselves. Allow yourself to make mistakes, say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, without adding self-condemnation on top of it. Don't ever forget that you are a spiritual being. And yes, you are having a human experience. But in the core of your being, you are divine love. You are divine light. You are divine wisdom, and so much more. Over these past few weeks, I've been asking myself, why did Spirit ask me to say relationships are complicated? But here's the point. There's nothing complicated about God's relationship with us. Nothing. God loves us and supports us no matter what, and boy, does God allow. Right? We are allowed by Spirit to make decisions and take actions that are not in our highest good. Right? And then we get to experience the consequences of those decisions. Sometimes those consequences come as a gentle nudge, and if we don't learn from that, we might experience what's known as the cosmic 2x4. Spirit wants us to know that the only complication that exists between us and the God of our understanding is our own bloated nothingness, our human tendency to try and control everything. The good news here is that in our relationship with Spirit, there's only one person complicating it, and that's us. Once you accept Spirit's unconditional love, you will begin to notice how many times it shows up and supports you in matters great and small. Every Sunday, we talk about the power of prayer, and just as Spirit allows us to make our decisions and choices, we must allow God to do what God does. The more we allow, the more the healing will come, and the faster it will come. Ernest Holmes said it perfectly. If prayer has been answered, it is not because God has been moved to answer one man over another, but because one man more than another has moved himself into a right relationship with Spirit. And so I'd like to invite the band to come on up and prepare for their last song. And so the call to action for this week: lighten up in your relationships. Allow people to be who they are. Say yes to the Vienna sausages or whatever else brings comfort to people. Remember your own divinity and honor it by releasing self-criticism and judgment. And finally, know that your relationship with Spirit is only as complicated as you make it. Just as Spirit allows you to make choices, you must allow Spirit to live, move, and have its being through you. It's not complicated at all. And so if you would, just take a moment and relax in your chair, and let's take a couple of deep breaths. Breathing in and out. And one more in and out. Oh. I know that loving power and presence just allows us to be who we are. It roots for us. It allows us to make choices that might not be best for us, but it is rooting for us to make the good choices, always. And we learn from that. We model that. So as we go out into our lives, we allow. We bring grace to our relationships, to our loved ones, our partners. We allow and bring grace in our workplace. We allow and bring grace into the grocery store. Wherever we go, We hold others and ourselves in that gentle, graceful, allowing state. And I know that this is true, and I'm very grateful for this because I know that each person here, whether they're in this room or whether they are Zooming in, they are hearing these words, I know that the ripple effect has already begun. Healings are occurring in this moment right now, beyond our wildest expectations. We have an effect on this world that we will never even know. And I'm just so grateful for that. So grateful. I give thanks for every person here and for everything that each person is doing in this coming week and beyond. And I know that my words are powerful and that they have moved into that creative law. And so the demonstration is done, and there's nothing else I need to do. And together we say, and so it is.
Me too.